So we're about 38 days away from the 2024 NFL Draft. And man, if you guys have been watching for a while, you already know I absolutely love the NFL Draft. It's one of my favorite times of the year because you can absolutely transform your roster. We've seen in recent years in some draft classes, the Ravens pick up a guy like Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews in the same draft class, all pro MVP caliber players. Then you see in another draft, you get Tyler Linderbaum and Kyle Hamilton, two Pro Bowl players that are absolutely transformative to your roster. And there's tons of other examples of the Ravens nailing the draft, like guys like Justin Madubuike in the third round who would go on to lead his position group in sacks in the entire NFL. So needless to say, I love the draft. I've done some homework on some of these guys. So welcome in to our second episode of our 2024 offseason mock draft series. So the Ravens, man, they're picking at pick number 30. So in this mock draft, we're going to keep it no trades just for this purpose. And the tool that I use so you can kind of track along and kind of use the same tool, the simulator that I used for this mock draft was Pro Football Network's Mock Draft Simulator. So let's dive in. And in this draft, we did not execute any trades, even though it's probably pretty likely the Ravens will be moving around at some point in this draft. So at pick number 30, I had the Baltimore Ravens going with offensive tackle Tyler Guyton. Man, you already know, right tackle specifically on this roster right now is the biggest, most glaring hole, the need on this roster. The Ravens have just traded right tackle Morgan Moses back to the New York Jets, and Ronnie Stanley, now that he's restructured his contract, will be a free agent next year. So offensive tackle is critically important to get right this offseason, and I think the Ravens, lucky for them, there's a lot of talented tackles and offensive linemen in this draft class. So for Tyler Guyton, I have him in my notes here. Huge, athletic, explosive, but needs some hand technique placement refinement. And he's also very competitive and has some nastiness to his game. And I love some offensive linemen, those glass-eating, mauling mentality, punishing like the maulers, right? Tyler Guyton, if you want to see what he can do and boost your run game, man, he's the type of guy. Tyler Guyton clearing the way alongside Patrick Ricard for guys like Derrick Henry could get pretty nasty pretty quick and bring that punishing physicality to your offense. And speaking of that, all right, my next guy at number 62 overall, wide receiver Xavier Legette. So talk about the big, imposing physical guys. Now, I've seen some DK Metcalf comparisons here. I've seen what I've drawn from it is a little bit more A.J. Brownish, but that big physical build. And I wrote down in my notes, huge vertical is through the roof. He had one of the highest verticals at the combine. Explosive, yards after catch, and speed. So this speedy wide receiver is also carrying around a 6'1", 227-pound frame. And you don't want to meet this guy head to head if you're a DB. And while he's not necessarily like a huge tall guy, to me he looks like he's 6'2", 6'3", but apparently measured in at 6'1" at the combine, 227. Where this really gets fun as far as like the contested catch situations is, first of all, he's got a monster vertical, like among the 99th percentile vertical for his position, and then you throw in the size and the weight as well. It's absolutely absurd. So he can go up and catch a 50-50 ball, a red zone threat type of guy as well. But it's also the hands, man. He has vice grip hands. When that ball's in the air, he has that mentality, that football is mine. He usually comes down with it. And I love the mentality. Like I said, gives me a little bit of A.J. Brown type of vibe. So at pick number 30, I had the Ravens improving that offensive line, some blind side protection or right side protection for Lamar Jackson, get younger there. And then the second pick, we have a wide receiver because, reminder, the only wide receiver under contract after this season will be Zay Flowers. Everyone else will be a free agent, including Nelson Aguilar and Rashad Bateman if the Ravens don't pick up the fifth-year option. At pick number 93, the Ravens like their size, speed combinations. They like to pick guys that have the upside, the frame, the athleticism. and they like their bully mentality, right? Another guy here, cornerback Cam Hart, 6'2". I saw another source say he was 6'3", but we need some outside cornerback depth because remember, we got Brandon Stevens and Marlon Humphrey, two talented, solid, starting outside cornerbacks. After that, who else do you got? You got Jalen Armour Davis. Right now, that's your depth. If one of your outside corners goes down, it's Jalen Armour Davis taking all the starting roles, all the starting snaps there. But it's a little bit different as far as the nickel cornerback position. We got guys like Pepe Williams or Darius Washington, who the Ravens just signed, and Kyle Hamilton. Although he's a safety, he can play the nickel and has done so very admirably. But we absolutely need some more outside cornerback depth. Cam Hart in his last 12 games, 21 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 4 pass deflections, 1 fumble recovery, and 3 forced fumbles. Talk about a guy that can get the ball out and that can run downhill. Also, pass deflections, man. I like Cam Hart, man. He put on some really good tape. And I know he's not necessarily the fastest guy, but whenever he opens up that stride, he can glue with guys downfield. If he opens up that stride, man, he has plenty of speed in my eyes, and I think that he's a well-rounded cornerback. If he's there at 93, I'd love to see the Ravens pull the trigger. At pick number 113, I had the Ravens picking up offensive guard Brandon Coleman out of TCU. So very strong is my biggest note I have here. So Brandon Coleman, he's 6'4", 320 pounds. He can move some bodies in the run game. I think he's better suited moving forward than he is necessarily side to side as a tackle prospect. That's why I think he projects a little bit better to guard. And some of the draft profiles that I was reading on Brandon Coleman has him better suited as a guard as well. So I think if you bring in a guy like this to compete at left guard, along guys like Saleh from last year, Ben Cleveland, Andrew Voorhees, I want to see more competition there at the guard position because iron sharpens iron, and you want these guys to push each other and let the best man win, right? So I'll definitely want to add some more young talent on the offensive line. So at pick number 130, I have the Ravens adding some more running back depth, okay? So Ray Davis is who I got. So if you're wondering why running back is still a need, right? First of all, I know we signed Derrick Henry. I love it. I absolutely love the signing. But keep in mind, Derrick Henry and Justice Hill right now are the only 2 healthy running backs on the roster, besides Owen Wright, who was an undrafted free agent on the practice squad type of guy. So Justice Hill and Derrick Henry are your 2 guys. Keaton Mitchell, it's expected that he comes back at some point in the season, but he will probably not be ready to go when, game 1 kicks off. So you got to have more than 2 running backs. Plus, you don't want to, put all the mileage, all the workload on Derrick Henry right away. Maybe keep him a little bit fresh for Derrick Henry to do Derrick Henry things come January and hopefully February, right? So you definitely want to add some more young talent in the running back room, more competition again. And Derrick Henry, he's on a 2-year deal. Depending on how this works out, the Ravens could move on after this season, but you definitely want to add some more running back depth. Now, let me tell you about Davis, why I like Davis. So, first of all, I think this is a sweet spot of the draft right here in this 3rd to 4th round range. There's going to be a lot of talented guys going off the board. Ray Davis. So, I got size, speed, vision, and pass catching is underrated. 5'10", 216 pounds. And what I wrote down was some Kenneth Walker vibes. So Kenneth Walker, that big bruiser, but also has some speed and can also catch some passes. That's kind of the vibe, the comparison I got from watching Ray Davis. So to recap, I have the Ravens shoring up the offensive line twice with offensive tackle Tyler Guyton and guard Brandon Coleman. I also have the Ravens grabbing another playmaker for Lamar Jackson. And again, I want to reiterate that the wide receivers I was looking at in the 2nd round, and maybe we grab a receiver in the 1st round or the 3rd round, but whatever receiver we end up grabbing, I want to make sure it's a guy that can stretch the field vertically and that has real speed that teams have to worry about, because now that the Ravens have Derrick Henry, man, they're going to be stacking the box. I want teams that have to worry consistently about throwing the ball, getting the ball thrown over their head, and not be able to stack the box and keep safeties deep. And, if they do want to stack the box and Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, Derrick Henry, Ray Davis, right? You keep running the ball, all of a sudden you have Xavier Legette or Zay Flowers or a speedster running downfield, making you pay for it whenever you're stacking the box. So that's the idea behind why I want to have another field-stretching vertical threat for Lamar Jackson in this offense. So at number 30, Tyler Guyton, right tackle at 62, wide receiver Xavier Legette, 93, big physical corner Cam Hart. Like I said, we need that outside cornerback depth. And then at 113, I had offensive guard Brendan Coleman, and at 130, running back Ray Davis. So let me know what you guys think about this mock draft in the comment section below. Smash the like button if you enjoyed today's content, if you liked any of these picks. And as always, man, let me know your top targets, your top prospects that you love the Ravens to draft. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Can't wait to keep building up this community with y'all heading into the next season. We're pretty close to 40,000 subscribers. So, man, you guys are awesome, amazing, and I appreciate you guys. So, love y'all, and we'll see you in the next video.
When he wasn't looking, he ran me over.